Hello again, and Happy New Year. Did you stay up for midnight, I wonder? And do you ever? Are you someone who goes out to party the night away? Do you go first footing, if that's even a thing this far south? Or do you stay at home and quietly see the new year in? Or is it like any other night and you just head off to bed pretty much as normal? And whatever your normal way of marking or not marking the new year is, was it different this year? Here in Oxfordshire, we moved from Tier 2 restrictions to Tier 4 restrictions on Boxing Day, so there was a sudden change in response to this new variant of the virus. That meant no meeting up with people to mark the occasion, so New Year was perhaps quieter than normal, except maybe for some fireworks. The New Year, in fact, is quite an artificial date to mark. Why should we start the year when we do? For some time it was the tradition to mark it with the spring equinox, and the equinoxes and the solstices are the only really natural points in the year to mark, the days when daylight and darkness are equal, and the days when daylight and darkness are at their maximum or at their minimum. New Year's Day, as we celebrate it these days, is about a week and a half after the winter solstice. But New Year's Day is the day when perhaps most obviously we mark the passing of time. We look back over the year just ending and look forward to the one just beginning. But in these days when so many of us are mixing less, staying indoors more, and having things cancelled, it can be harder to keep track of time. There have been times over this last 10 months or so when not only have I found it hard to remember what day of the week it is, but I've even found it hard sometimes to remember which month it is. So I can't quite believe that here we are, we've made it to 2021. Our rhythms of time have been disrupted. Our normal rhythms are a mixture of natural things and artificial things. Of course, the equinoxes and the solstices have come and gone as normal as the earth rotates and circles the sun. But our religious festivals, our anniversaries, our birthdays, those other dates we mark, they've sometimes been a bit less clear than usual. We vary in how much we mark those dates. Different religious traditions have different festivals, of course. In the Methodist tradition, we generally don't go in for Saints' Days all that much, for example. But as happened with many other Protestant traditions, once what we might see as the more Catholic festivals were taken out of the calendar, we ended up filling it up with our own instead. Aldersgate Sunday, when we remember a key event in the life of John Wesley, one of our founders, for example. And church anniversaries, and at least in the past, Sunday school anniversaries, and more besides. Marking the passing of time with these more or less fixed points in the year seems to help us in the rhythm of our living. And it's one of the things we've missed in the last few months. Have you taken Christmas decorations down? Maybe you're used to Twelfth Night being the time for that. Or maybe you like the tradition of keeping them up till Candlemas in early February. In the tradition I've been part of, it's always been Twelfth Night, so much so that I feel awkward if they're not down by then. And I'm not sure I'd even heard of Candlemas until fairly recently, let alone kept my decorations up till then. Or maybe you just do your own thing. Or maybe you're one of those people who are keeping their decorations up for longer this time because, well, we could do with it this year. The dates on which we mark the passing of time are not the be-all and end-all of things. Paul talks about this in a couple of letters. In Colossians, he tells the church in Colossae not to let other people tell them what to do in terms of observing festivals and so on, because dates and festivals are only a shadow of what's to come, and the substance belongs to Christ. You might wonder then whether we should be marking dates at all. But in Romans, Paul says this: some judge one day to be better than another, while others judge all days to be alike. Let all be fully convinced in their own minds. And whichever you do, do it in honour of the Lord. In the end, it doesn't matter. If it helps in your journey with God, then great. This week's date in the calendar of most Christian traditions is Epiphany, when we remember the visit of the Magi, usually known as the wise men, to the young Jesus. As I said a couple of weeks ago, something which struck me in reading that familiar story once again this year was that we're only told that Mary was there with Jesus when they arrived. And something which often makes me smile in the story is the detail that apparently the whole of Jerusalem agreed with King Herod. Well, of course they did. You wouldn't want to be seen to disagree with Herod. But something else struck me when I reread the story only this morning. In the news last night we heard from the USA of a group storming the Capitol building, encouraged initially by President Trump himself in an attack on their democratic process. Trump had said they should fight on, they should march to the Capitol, that he would never concede. Some of them were armed. Some left bombs in the building. In any other context, we'd be calling it an attempted coup led by terrorists. And unlike the extraordinarily heavy police presence demanded by Trump at the time of the Black Lives Matter protests, last night the police at first almost seemed to melt away. And in Matthew chapter 2 verse 3 I read that when Herod heard what the wise men had to say to him, he was frightened. He was frightened. That's the reaction of a brutal man whose obsession is to hang on to power. That's the reaction of a hugely powerful man when he gets wind of the power draining away to somewhere else. That's the reaction which can make someone who knows his power is dependent on suppressing the people and oppressing the people, can make them lash out and slaughter the innocents. But that small vulnerable child was where the real power lay. And the king was frightened. God bless. See you soon.